Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Parrott. I'm the Executive Director at the Metropolitan Sewer District. And on behalf of the MSD staff and our MSD board, I want to welcome you to the groundbreaking, or I should say ribbon-cutting event for the Logan Street Combined Sewer Overflow Basin Project. We are joined today by our mayor, Mr. Greg Fischer. We also have with us Council Member Barbara Sexton Smith, and from our Infrastructure Committee Chairman from the MSD Board, John Phelps, and Pastor Bruce Williams of Base Memorial Church. So thank you all for being here. This project is one of the projects that's required under a federal consent decree and was one of the early golden nuggets that I inherited when I first came to Louisville a couple of years ago. We had a project that had a lot of public meetings, and as a part of that public meeting process, we got some pushback from the community. And so it required us to take a time out to really think about what we were doing. The project had already initiated construction, but because of the fact that we needed to have some discussion with the community, we took a time out. And so with the help of our Mayor, Greg Fischer, the mayor convened a meeting. We had a sit down with members of the Smoketown Neighborhood Association and also Pastor Williams and others to talk about how do we get to a win-win solution for this project. And so this project itself is all about protecting public health and safety. It is a basin project, although you don't see it. There's a basin underground here, about a 16.7 million gallon basin that is buried below us. This basin will reduce 11 points along the Beargrass Creek here down beside us of combined sewer overflows that exist today. We've been able to intercept those CSOs so that we can pick up and eliminate approximately 15.4 million gallons of combined sewer discharge that overflows to Beargrass Creek in a typical year. This basin will allow us to capture about 98% of that overflow, and it will help us keep the waterway safe and clean here in Smoketown and other parts of our city. Now that the construction is complete, we can initiate operations, and we can grant a full easement to Louisville Metro Housing along with their director, Tim Berry, so that the site can be utilized for something other than just a sewer project. And so we're very excited about that. We're very excited about that because it'll give us an opportunity to collaborate and partner not only with another government entity, but to facilitate something that the community can bring value. So neighborhood housing will work with the community to develop a program for this site. And this site, this project obviously is something that is a part of a major infrastructure program that we're responsible for. The fact is that this type of project costs a lot of money. This basin project alone costs $50 million. The interceptors that we've installed to pick up the combined sewer overflows along Beargrass Creek cost another $32 million. So you're talking about collectively an investment of $82 million right here in the Smoketown community, all in the for an opportunity to comply with the consent decree, but also to improve water quality in our neighborhood. So we're very excited about that. The consent decree program, the consent decree projects that we have to complete by 2020 and by 2024 respectively are obviously our priority, but it's going to be taking away from other parts of our system. And we are continuing to look at what we need to do with other parts of our system. Earlier this year, we rolled out a critical repair and reinvestment plan. That is a 20-year plan that has really looked at the risk of other assets that MSD is responsible for. The critical repair plan work must be done. The question is when do we do it, and how fast do we do it? And so as we start to focus on projects like this today and projects that are in the critical repair plan, it really is about how do we have a seat at the table when we talk about the transformation of our city, and how do we support the sustainability and the resiliency platform of our great city as well. And so, as you all know, our mayor has been a component, very big supporter of resiliency and sustainability, and we're glad that he is here with us today. And I would like to ask you to welcome Mayor Fischer for some comments.
Thank you, Tony, for the good job you do every day in our city. Well, it's a great day to be here to see what could have been and what is. And there's quite a story behind this as well. But anytime there's a green space in the community, it's wonderful for a place to enjoy, come together. It will increase property values in the neighborhood. It's great to have a wonderful new park-like setting here as well. And it's great to see, Councilwoman, that it's happening right here in Shelby Park in the Smoketown area. We've got a lot of momentum in the city right now. When you look at the big picture of, over 70,000 new jobs and $12 billion of construction going on in Louisville right now. And when you take a look around Shelby Park, Smoketown, Germantown, you see the new lofts coming into place in Germantown and Bradford Mills, the new Boys and Girls Club planned right down the street here in Smoketown. We've got Scarlett's Bakery, Good Folks Coffee, Sapphire Coffee, Great Flood Brewery, and the Parristown development is taking shape as well. And then Shepherd Square, of course, has been one of the great housing success stories in our city here over the last 6 years. So it's real, tangible progress that's taken place in this neighborhood. And I think the Logan Street Basin will have another chapter in that book because of the way this came about. There's so many things happening in a city like ours. And what's good and important about public being involved in public meetings is sometimes things either slip through the cracks or people get too busy, and they can be big things. Like this would have been a big mistake here if this was an above-ground basin in our city. And however it happened, I don't know. I guess there's a story behind it. The important thing is that the community said, hold on a second here, what's going on? Barbara Sexton Smith was part of that. She was running for council person at the time, and I remember vividly you saying, Mayor, do you know what's going on with the Logan Street Basin? And I said, not really. Tell me what's going on. And so then shortly after that, I think Dr. Bruce Williams, we either ran into each other on the street or you called me or something. You said, Mayor, what the is going on with the Logan? I said, I thought you're a pastor. Oh, that wasn't you, was it? That was somebody that worked for you that said that. Randy Weber, is Randy here? Randy's back here, always keeping a low profile. He's president of Smoketown Rising Neighborhood Association. He said, can we do better than this? And that's when we quickly found out what's going on here. And then we have a new director of MSD, and Tony Parrott, who he just said, this just does not look right. So we immediately went to work on rectifying what would have been a significant error for our entire city. So I want to thank everybody for doing this. Tony, we have, what, a dozen basins going on in the city right now? Eight or nine basins going on, and you can see them. And if you want to see the world's biggest dirt pile right now, it's in Shawnee Park. So Shawnee Park is having another basin going in like this. There's one in Crescent Hill that's being built into the side of a hill. It's going to be a little more exposed than this one is here as well. But it's an important part of keeping our city with the basics, which is clean water and good infrastructure. And, I call this like an American disease. We want everything, but we don't want to have to pay for it, okay? And it just doesn't work that way. We know that. So that's why we're spending a lot of money on our MSD repairs. The critical repair plan is beyond what we're doing right now. And I just want to echo what Tony Parrott says. We have to do it at some point in time. The question is, are we going to wait till our flood wall breaks? Are we going to wait till one of our sewage water treatment plants goes down? Or are we going to get in front of this? So there'll be a lot more community conversation around all of these issues. You have to invest in a city to grow a great city, and you have to have the basics of good, clean water and sewage systems. Those were some of the great advancements of the late and mid 1800s. Okay, we need those in here in our 21st century as well. So Tony, to you and the MSD board, I want to thank you for responding the way you did. Reverend Williams, I want to thank you and your team and the councilwoman for rallying the community the way you did. And this is the way a city's supposed to work. We're all in it together. Nobody's got all the answers, but when we work together and identify opportunities, we get after it and we take care of business, and then something else better ends up as a result of that. Finally, I just want to echo the irony of us being here today. This event was canceled because we did have an infrastructure failure about a week ago. Infrastructure is a fancy way of talking about pipes and sewers and roads and bridges. Well, we had a 48-inch water main break last week that was the ripe young age of birth age of 1892. Okay? Now, the water company analyzes the water lines every year by some fancy technology with some X-ray robot that goes through there, and they didn't detect any problems, but you never know when something's going to break. Okay, so obviously you saw basically streets, lots of the streets here in Smoketown, Shelby Park, full of water. So I just want to echo, when we think about these investments, let's be proud of them as a city. This is what great cities have. They've got good infrastructure like this, and we have to update our aging water lines and sewer lines and more to protect and build on the prosperity that we have. Companies don't want to come and locate in a city where they've got to be worried about basic infrastructure. Okay, so that's kind of the bottom line. I know nobody wants to pay for any of these things, but as adults, we know that's ultimately what we have to do. Okay, so luckily coming together to meet the challenges is not new to us, and I think this project here on the Logan Street Basin speaks a lot about us as a city. So thank you all very much for being here today. And Tony, am I supposed to say who's coming up next, or none other than the councilwoman of Metro Council District 4, Barbara Sexton Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Fischer. It's always an honor to get to follow Mayor Fischer and be introduced, and then to get to welcome everyone to the heart and soul of District 4. You know, District 4 is a great connected community, and what we've seen today and what we're going to see when we cut this ribbon is District 4 and Smoketown and Shelby Park is just as strong as every citizen that lives here, every neighbor that lives here that wants to be engaged. And Mayor Fischer already mentioned Randy Weber and Pastor Bruce Williams. We would not be here today celebrating this if it were not for those folks. One thing I'd like to mention is that, yes, Mayor Fischer, we work really hard for things that we want. I mean, we'll get up early, we'll stay up late, we'll work 7 days a week for the things that we want in life. I want to ask everyone to think about, what are we willing to work for if it's something that we need? Are we willing to get up early, work a little bit harder, stay up a little bit later, and work an extra day or two for the things that we need in our city? I think we are. And a community and a city is going to be evaluated on how well we take care of everything around us. So our number one threat, not just in Louisville, but all across the nation, is our crumbling infrastructure. And I think I like the way you described it, Mayor. It's the crumbling pipes underneath us and our roads and our bridges. We're better than this. We're better than 9 sewer cave-ins a month. That's what we're averaging, the last I was told. We're better than an 1893 pipe that was 48 inches in diameter that caved in minutes here up in the neighborhood not too far from where we're standing. I met with a group of folks last night, and I'm sad to say, yes, we still have brothers and sisters right over here in Shelby Park who do not have electricity because of the complicated nature of putting their lives back together when at 7:30 one morning, all they knew was there was not enough water in the shower pipe coming through. And all then, the next thing we know, Humana asked all the employees to go home. That was a very costly measure for the Humana employees in downtown Louisville. But thank God for Tony Parrott and the board of directors at our Metropolitan Sewer District and all the men and women that work hard every day. You're going to put this city together, one pipe, one brick, one block, one piece of technology at a time. And thank God we got the vision and leadership of Mayor Greg Fischer, the greatest mayor on the planet, Thank you, sir. You stand before us and you take a lot of heat all the time. But he's willing to do that because he knows it's the right thing to do. So I am very thankful for everyone who's come today. And I want you to stand up. And when it's time to say, what are you willing to work for? How hard are you willing to work? If it's something that we need, let's help the Metropolitan Sewer District when it comes time, yes, to increase those rates ever so slightly, just 3 little points that'll put them in a financial position to be able to afford what we need. And then we can go to work and work for what we want. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to ask to join me at this podium, this illustrious podium, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to John Phelps.
I'm the chairman of the MSD Infrastructure Committee. I have some old connections to Smoketown. My son went to Mazik Middle School. I was directly involved in the construction of the open hand kitchen for St. Vincent de Paul. And our church did a lot to support the what is now called the Presbyterian Daycare Center down on Fenzer. So I've been through this neighborhood a lot and spent a lot of time down on Jackson Street. So just to let you know, originally got involved in this as Tony has talked and Mayor Fischer. This was going to be an above-ground facility. We had a Metro board meeting where some Smoketown advocates came in and presented a case to us that, and I'll be very honest with you, I was very reluctant to approve because I'm always trying to determine how to balance MSD's the only way I can describe it is dire financial position in relation to the amount of money we have to spend for facilities. But that board meeting resulted in all of the board members being swayed by the advocates of Smoketown. Smoketown community made a very strong presentation to us and convinced us that this was the right thing to do. It's always a difficult challenge to balance this cost of when the MSD makes expenditures with respect to construction facilities. We're always trying to find the most efficient way of doing it and a way to reduce our cost and streamline our operation so that we benefit our ratepayers. Facilities like this that MSD is building throughout the Louisville metro area are going to be facilities that last well over 100 years. MSD, and this is something that I hadn't thought about until that meeting and afterwards, MSD has to have a vision where we build these facilities where we think about that future, not just for tomorrow or the next day, but for the entire community for the next 100 years, that they offer the flexibility and they can be an asset to the community. And that's what we hope we have started here. With these basin projects where we have decided to go ahead and try to do the right thing for the community. So I want to thank the Smoketown groups that advocated for this because it made us rethink how we were doing things, and it was a very positive step. The only hook is we do need your support because we need that economic sustainability to keep this going and make this Louisville community a great place to live. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. This is a great day. I think it's a great day for several reasons. One of the reasons why it's a great day is because of what has already been said so far. All of the benefits of the basin for the community, all of the health reasons, all of the economic reasons, all of the community reasons, that is, it as an asset. It's a good day. It's a good day also because it is taking the configuration it has taken as a consequence of our mayor and MSD responding to the concerns and cares and even protests of the community. And it is always a good thing when public officials and those who've been tasked with the responsibility of public good to respond to the residents and believe that those residents know what's in their best interest. So it's a good day. It's a good day because they didn't just make a good decision, they made a right decision, and a decision I believe that was just. So it's a good day. But it's a good day also because one of the reasons why they were given the opportunity to make that right decision is because of the informed, dedicated, persistent, unintimidated, consistent, and insistent pressure that was placed by the residents who were here, residents who are part of a community that have a rich history and often have had to do things uphill, but we're resilient and we're strong and we love our community and we love this city and its leadership. And part of the process of getting to this point involved the residents believing that they had a voice and that they had a voice that someone would listen to. And in this case, fortunately, it was, and we're all the beneficiaries of it. So this is a good day. I think the residents who made it possible, and they mentioned my name and some other names, but there are scores of people who are a part of this process, who made this possible, who made their input known and let our public officials know so that we could be at this point. And I wish they were here, but just for them, kudos to them for having the courage and the foresight and to care about the community and city enough to get involved and not to sit on the sidelines and complain about what is not happening, but get in the fight and make happen what ought to happen. And so congratulations to them for those citizens who participated in the process in such a way that it brought us to this point. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about that because that's what makes a city great. And this is good for the community, and what is good for the community is good for the city. And so I congratulate those who participated. So I make a promise to everyone who's here. I promise, and I believe I can say this without fear of contradiction from the residents of Smoketown, I promise to keep using my voice and whatever influence we have to continue to do what is in the best interest of the Smoketown community and the best interest of this city as a consequence. And I'm encouraged by the fact that in making that promise to use our voices to stand up for those who often feel like they have no voice, I'm confident because of this project and other things that have been happening here recently, I'm confident that when we use our voice, our voices will be heard. And when our voices are heard, it will always be for the best interests of our community. There's a great deal of cost involved in this, and there was some hesitation about the cost it would take to make this basin what it is now. It is commendable that our MSD board decided that Smoketown was worth the cost, because Smoketown is. Smoketown is on the rise, and Smoketown is worthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Williams. I almost felt like he was getting ready to give us a sermon. But I think to your word, I think, a lot of involvement from a lot of people made this day possible. Obviously, the partnership that we have with the Smoketown Neighborhood Association, and also the partnership now that we're going to have with the Housing Authority, I think is very important. And so we want to recognize that we have Lance Gilbert here, who's the vice chair of the board for the Neighborhood Housing Development. Thank you for your support. I also want to recognize another one of our board members are here, Mr. Dan Arbaugh. Dan, thank you for your support. And all of the staff of MSD, our chief engineer is here, Angela Ackridge, I think, is here. Brian Bingham, our chief of operations, is here. All these folks work very hard to make this day possible, and they do it 24/7, 365 days a year. And so this project is something now that because of the collaboration between different government entities, we now have the opportunity to present something today that is for the common good and bring value to everyone, including MSD and the community of Smoketown. So thank you all for coming out today. I think now we want to cut the ribbon